What's up guys, welcome back to your Heroclix headquarters. So today is another top 5 list, and this time, since you guys asked for it, we're going to cover the leader of the X-Men, Cyclops. So without further ado, let's check out the list. Alright, and coming in at number 5, we have the Cyclops from Wolverine and the X-Men. Now, one main thing to point out is that this is maybe my favorite Cyclops sculpt ever. It's still so cool. I always forget that he's only an uncommon, because this sculpt is at least rare, super rare level quality in my opinion. So let's take a quick look at his card to see what he does. So he starts with a trait called Summers Brothers. Cyclops ignores all damage dealt by characters named Havoc. Unless it's dealt by a close combat attack, this ability can't be ignored, which essentially gives it Protected Pulse Wave. So that's just a cool little thing to throw in there because him and his brother actually get their powers from the same source, and so they can't actually hurt each other with their concussive blasts that they have. And speaking of concussive blasts, he has a special movement power that lets him use Force Blast and Sidestep. And then we can take a look at the back of his card there, where he has a damage power that says Cyclops can use Leadership. When Cyclops hits an opposing character, that character loses all keywords and can't use Leadership or team abilities until your next turn. So that's huge, mainly because, you know, if you hit somebody with Power Cosmic and then they lose Power Cosmic, or just losing all of their keywords can prevent them from using Theme Team Probability Control or, you know, any other crazy effects they might try to have on their team that involve keywords. And then just taking a closer look at his dial, he does, of course, start with the X-Men team ability there. He's 94 points, so he's a little bit costly, but I think he's well worth it. 7 range, 8 movement with that Sidestep Force Blast combo, 10 attack, 17 with Energy Shield, and 4 damage. And we can just give you a few clicks there to see what the rest of it's looking like. You know, you get some Penetrating Blast, some Energy Explosion, some Willpower. His stats stay fairly decent throughout, so for all of those reasons, he's coming in at number 5. Alright, and coming in at number 4, we have the Cyclops Rare from the Uncanny X-Men set. I do love that black and red costume on it. It's super cool. We don't really see a lot in that costume. So he's only 85 points. He's got the X-Men team ability. You can see there that he starts with some Running Shot, 11 attack, Penetrating Blast, 17 with Toughness, and a 3 damage, and of course an 8 range, which is really nice. That's a really long range in today's game. So we'll take a look at what he can do. So he has a special attack later on his dial that he can use Penetrating Blast, and when he does, he can use Improved Movement, destroys a square blocking terrain, which is pretty awesome. He gets that on the last few clicks of his dial. Then he has a special on his damage where it says Cyclops can use Leadership. When he does and succeeds, he may instead remove an action token from any other friendly character within range that shares a keyword with him. Note that it does just say within range that shares a keyword with him. So no line of fire is necessary for that. And since he does have that awesome 8 range, that gives you a really great distance to be pulling tokens off of people. You know, running, shotting in, staying at that 8 range for that Penetrating Blast, and you know, still being able to Leadership tokens off of your guys in the front lines way over there is just a super helpful ability, and a nice, decent, team-friendly 85 points. So for all that, he's going to come in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have Cyclops from the Cyclops vs. Wolverine X-Men Regenesis event. I know I did get a lot of use out of this guy during that event. He did very well for me. So we'll take a look at his card here. As you can see, he starts with a trait that at the beginning of the game, if he's part of a Utopia theme team, you can replace his card with the 0.1 version, which we'll take a look at in a second. He has some nice improved targeting where he can make range attacks while adjacent to opposing characters. He also has traded Leadership, and as a free action, if another friendly character hits an opposing character this turn, heal Cyclops 1 click. So as long as he's got some friends on his team, he can be potentially healing a click every turn, which is pretty awesome. Then he's got a special on his defense power that gives him stop, energy shield deflection, and super senses. So this is one of the few Cyclopses that actually get a stop click. We can take a quick look at what his blue card does if he's on a Utopia theme team. All it really does is change his effect here to free. If another friendly character hit an opposing character this turn, heal Cyclops 2 clicks. So he gets 2 clicks of healing per turn, potentially. And the only way to shut that down is if you kill the whole rest of his team. So he can be tricky to deal with because he can really just run in there. It doesn't matter if he's up close. He gets that running shot penetrating blast for 3 damage, is pretty nice. 7 range is really good. Indomitable, some solid. Defense is there the whole way down until the last couple clicks where it starts to fall off a bit. The sidestep range combat expert can come in a lot of handy as well with that improved targeting, because they think, oh, I'll just charge on you so I don't have to deal with your energy shield deflection, but then they knock you onto range combat expert, which you can still use even while they're right next to you. So this guy, he also has the X-Men team ability, so the real reason I was able to do so well with this guy was because I played him on a Utopia team, and hitting that stop click, and then on your turn you just have somebody make an attack and hit, and you get to heal back up to full health. So it's pretty crazy. And even if you can't manage to make a hit, you can make one of your supporting characters use the X-Men team ability to heal him off of his stop clicks. So it's actually pretty hard to KO this guy. He's really good at 120 points or 70. I think I prefer the 70 just because it's, a lot more team friendly. It gives you a lot more space to put a lot more characters on the team, which of course just makes more potential attacks for him to heal off of. But he's a really great figure, so that's coming in at number 3. All right, and coming in at number 2 on our list, here we have Cyclops, super rare from the Xavier school set. Now this guy is super awesome. Again, this is probably my favorite Cyclops sculpt in the game, except for maybe the other one. Mainly because I do love that 90s costume, but these awesome, laser eyes effects is so cool. Of course, he's got the X-Men team ability there. 150 or 50 points. Either way, he's doing a lot for your team, so we'll check him out really fast. As you can see, he's got improved targeting, can destroy a square of blocking terrain, which is extremely helpful under certain circumstances. He's got the Headmaster X-Men trait, which a lot of characters from that set had, that gives him leadership, perplex, but only to target another friendly character with the X-Men keyword. During force construction, you may include one student ID on your force without adding its cost. So that gives you a free 3-point ID card, which is, never a bad thing. It's just 3 free points. Traded leadership is nice, but that perplex is especially good on him because he does have an 8 range. So that gives you an 8 range with his perplex, which is a lot more than a lot of characters would normally have. But then he also has another trait that gives him free make a range attack, but only to target opposing characters that damage another friendly character with the X-Men keyword with an attack since your last turn. So that gives him a sort of Colossal Retaliation type ability. It doesn't place him, but as a free action, you can make an attack. And with an 8 range that can see through blocking terrain, at least one square of it, is really strong. I like to send in kind of a cheap little pawn figure that just gets taken down really easy. And once they take that bait, you can running shot him in, and then you get another free attack as well. So you get 2 attacks off with him a turn most of the time. And he has another trait that makes that whole strategy even easier because he has sidestep. And if Cyclops is closer to an opponent's starting area than he is to his own, he can use Penetrating Psychic Blast. Otherwise, he can use Energy Shield Deflection. So that's always helpful. I'm going to take a look at the back of his card now. So starting off at 150 points, he's got that 8 range X-Men team ability and 18 defense with willpower, but he's also going to have Energy Shield most of the time. 12 attack with Precision Strike. Only 4 movement running shot, but you can make that a 6 if you use sidestep. And if you get yourself closer to your opponent's starting area, you're of course going to be able to Penetrating Blast as well. So you're going to be able to get through basically any defense. I would have loved to have seen a 4 damage to start with on the 150 line, but it is still pretty good. Now at 50 points, he's almost just as good. You're missing 1 attack and 1 defense there. but very similar opening stats. And again, he's bringing all that goodness to the team with the leadership perplex, the free ID card, and all that stuff just for 50 points. So he's really great at both lines. And of course, the free attacks is super useful with that 8 range. And you know what? He is one of my favorite Cyclopses. I've used him 100 times, so he's my number 2 Cyclops. All right, and as always, before we get to our number 1 pick, we've got some honorable mentions for you. So starting us off over here, we have Cyclops from the old Giant Size X-Men set. So he's got a trait, the X-Leader. Cyclops can use leadership. When any friendly character uses the X-Men team ability, heal 2 damage instead of 1. So that's the main reason I had to give this guy a shout out. Healing 2 damage instead of 1 is incredibly helpful for an X-Men team for numerous reasons. Of course, more healing is always better. And then later on in his dial, he gets a special attack power where he can use Force Blast. And when he uses Force Blast after actions resolve, if his target's defense value is now 16 or less, he deals damage to his target equal to half of his d6 roll for Force Blast. So, you know, that can be pretty good. You know, of course, he's a ranged character, so they're going to want to get close. So it actually gives you a reason to roll for Force Blast. You know, potentially, I know 16s don't really show up a lot anymore, but there's potential to do that damage there, especially if you do it on a lower cost figure. You can actually look at the back of cards now, and you can see if there's that possibility of rolling and doing 1 damage to, of course, land on a 16 and potentially do some free damage on top of any knockback damage. Just taking a quick look at his dial there, he does start with an 8 movement running shot, 10 attack, with the sharpshooter ability, which is not really a thing anymore. Basically, it lets you make ranged attacks while adjacent to opposing characters, and you can see through opposing characters. But then you also have an 8 range willpower with a 17 defense and a 4 damage, which is pretty awesome. 110 points is a little expensive nowadays. And honestly, his stats, you know, they kind of fall off just like most figures used to. But for bringing that double heal to the X-Men team ability is still incredibly valuable. But moving on, we have now the Cyclops from Avengers vs. X-Men. So he starts off with some improved targeting, can destroy square blocking terrain, and can make ranged attacks while adjacent to opposing characters, which is great. He's got a special on his movement power that he can use Force Blast and Running Shot, and when he uses Running Shot after actions resolve, he can use Force Blast as a free action. So reading that the first time might not make sense, but he's got Sharpshooter, which also gives him this. I think this was a different symbol a while ago. It did something a little bit different. They kind of combined 2 symbols into 1 for this one now, but it basically does the same thing now that Sharpshooter used to do, where you can make ranged attacks while adjacent. But anyway, yeah, so you can Running Shot adjacent to somebody, hit them with your ranged attack, and then use the free Force Blast to knock them back. So it's pretty cool. He is 150 or 100 points. He's just really expensive. He does also start out with a cool damage power that he can use Leadership and Outwit, and when he uses Leadership, adjacent characters that share a keyword with him are considered a lower point value. So that's just how Leadership works now. And he's got some pretty awesome improved targeting abilities. As you can see there, he starts with a 9 movement running shot, 11 attack, precision strike, 17 with Indomitable and energy shield deflection, and a 4 damage with that Leadership Outwit special, which is pretty nice with an 8 range for your Outwit, can be pretty helpful. And again, you know, a Sharpshooter team ability is cool. Now, the rest of his dial gets kind of pathetic, honestly. His stats just really aren't there for such a high point figure, but if you can keep him close to top dial, he can be very powerful. And then coming in over here, we have the prize Cyclops, the grand prize from the Regenesis event. Now, the reason this guy is an honorable mention and not on the list is because he just doesn't really look or feel like a regular Cyclops. I do like to keep my lists to more basic versions of the characters to start with, and then maybe do a separate list later for the more like enhanced versions of them. So this guy isn't really cosmically enhanced in any way, but he just doesn't really feel like a Cyclops. But he's definitely good enough that I wanted to give him a shout out. And so we'll take a quick look. He's got Eternal Struggle. When Cyclops is hit with a close attack after resolutions, you may place him in any unoccupied square within 2 squares in line of fire. If you do, heal him 1 click. And you can modify damage +1 when targeting a character with a range value of 0. Then he's got a special attack power, Steel Energy, but instead with ranged attacks, and then a special on his defense where he can use Toughness. And when Cyclops is hit with an attack, the maximum damage opposing characters can deal to Cyclops is their printed damage value, Protected Pulse Wave. So that defense power is really great. It helps him against Blades, Claws, Fangs, Close Combat Expert, Range Combat Expert. They can't use like Enhancement and Power, Perplex, anything like that to up their damage value. That Toughness can actually be pretty effective when they can't up their damage value at all. Then he also has Focused Fury. Cyclops can't be carried. So you can take a look at the whole dial. So he can't be carried on pretty much everything but his first click. He can still be carried on his first click, which is kind of the best time to be carried. So, it's not really too big of a deal there. He's got that special defense toughness the whole time with some Indom. And he does start with Running Shot with a 12 attack and 4 damage Penetrating Blast, which is pretty crazy. As well as the whole rest of his dial being Steel Energy from ranged attacks, which is incredibly good to just heal him right back up if he takes a hit. He does only have a 4 range, so you are going to have to get pretty close. But that's not really too bad since he does have that awesome trait where he can place himself 2 squares out from somebody that hit him with a close attack. He's really powerful. He's only 75 points. And then just taking a quick look at his sculpt, he looks pretty cool. He's got like some type of lion head on him. It's pretty awesome. They're like the Wolverine one was pretty cool too. They're like a tribal battle thing going on. It's pretty awesome. But now our last honorable mention is this Cyclops here with the helmet of Magneto. So again, like I said a minute ago, I like to keep my lists kind of the standard versions of characters. This guy was so good. He could have easily been my #1 pick. So I wanted to at least give him a shout out because I don't really know if I'm going to do another list for Cyclops. There's not really a lot of special versions of him aside from like the Dark Phoenix one. But this guy is so good. I just didn't want to put him on the list because I felt like it was cheating a little bit. He's got that helmet. Makes him super powerful for some reason. So he's got this super great trait, assembling an interdimensional X society. During forced construction, characters with keywords that begin with X dash gain the X-Men keyword if they don't have it already. So that brings in anything that's got, X-Force, X-Statics, X-whatever. It's really cool that you can make an X-Men theme team out of any of those. So then he has another trait, Magneto's Mental Shielding Helmet, Protected, Mind Control, Outwit, and Penetrating Psychic Blast. So giving him Protected from Mind Control and especially Outwit on his whole dial is incredibly useful, obviously. And we'll take a look at his dial in a second, but then he also has a special defense power that gives him Stop, and when this click is first revealed, after resolutions, heal Cyclops a number of clicks equal to the number of other friendly characters on your force. So we can take a quick look at the back of his card. So he's got a nice 7 clicks there at the back end of his dial. He's got that awesome Stop click. So starting out, he's got that 8 movement with Running Shot, 12 attack, Energy Explosion, 18 defense with Toughness and Indomitable, 4 damage with Leadership, and of course an 8 range X-Men team ability back there as well. And then he's also got on his 70-point line, Sidestep, 11 attack with Precision Strike, 17 energy shield deflection, and 3 damage with Range Combat Expert. So both the 100 or 70-point line are pretty great, starting with a 12 attack on the 100 points versus the Range Combat Expert of the 70-point line. They both bring a lot to the table. Being Protected, Outwit especially, and Mind Control is really great. And just being able to make any of those X keywords be part of an X-Men theme team. There's a lot of really cool things you could do with that. But those are all of my honorable mentions. So without further ado, on to #1. All right, and leading the charge into our #1 spot, we have the Cyclops from the unpainted deep cuts. Now, I haven't painted this guy yet, but I am planning on doing that one next. So make sure you guys stay tuned to see what I might turn him into. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions what you'd like to see this guy painted as. Now, this is the same sculpt that the Common from Regenesis had, but of course you can just paint it to look like whatever you want. And now let's see why I like him so much. So one of the main reasons starting off is his trait, Concussive Blow.
which gives him Force Blast, and Cyclops may knock back characters that can use charge or combat reflexes. So it doesn't sound like much, but that is huge. You know, being able to knock back a character no matter charge or combat reflexes really hurts those types of close combat figures, especially since he has improved targeting to be able to make ranged attacks while adjacent to opposing characters. Means that he doesn't just have to roll for Force Blast, he can also just attack them and knock them back. Then he's also got a trait, Extinction Team. When Cyclops hits once per turn, modify attack +1 for all friendly characters with the Utopia keyword this turn. So that's going to be really great if you're playing him on a Utopia theme team. And all the other Utopia characters from this unpainted set have that same trait. So you could bump his attack up if you need to. So starting off, he's got 8 movement with Running Shot, with a 7 range, 11 attack, Penetrating Blast for 4 damage, which is awesome. Of course, Leadership, Indomitable with an 18 defense and energy shield deflection. So he's well defended from range, and he's got plenty of range to make those Penetrating Blast attacks for a massive 4 damage. A nice even 100 points. Of course, he's got the X-Men team ability there as well. His attack values are super solid the whole way. They never drop below a 10 in the middle, and those could easily go up from all that range combat expert. And I just love all that sidestep range combat expert. It's like a 3 damage that whole entire time, so you could easily be doing 5 damage or, you know, upping your attack. At the last click there, he's got a 12 attack, so you could be hitting for 14 attack if you really needed to. And of course, with that Utopia trait on a Utopia team, you could easily bump him up to a 12 attack or 11 attack, like the whole dial anyway, just from a little bit of other Utopia characters. He's still really great on an X-Men team, even without that. He's just really basic, but he really brings everything I want in a Cyclops. Some great damage output. You know, he's got the leadership. He's got some cool improved targeting. And that I just love that ability to knock back charging characters. Like, you'd be surprised how much that can actually hurt you in if you're playing a close combat team. You just cannot get close to this guy at all. So just for being a nice even 100 points, you know, he's got great damage output the whole dial, especially if you include the potential of knockback damage on top of everything. You know, he's still got that leadership for your X-Men teams, and I just really like him. He just really, like, for some reason makes me think of what I want a Cyclops to be able to do, other than maybe having like a special leadership that would give him like a, you know, 4 to 6 roll or something. But otherwise, he's great, and he's going to be my #1 pick for Cyclops. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this top 5 list. If you liked it, as always, make sure you leave me a like on this video. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Cyclops figures are, and while you're there, go ahead and nominate your favorite character for a future top 5 list. And don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. But until next time, this has been Heroclix Headquarters, signing off.